What is up, people? We are back in an unusual locale. It is snowing here today. Jacob and I were both feeling less than normal motivation to go into the studio. So, Jacob, you're on screen right now, just so you know.
I see that now. Thanks.
So we're making use of Zoom, and we are live streaming now. I don't know if we're going to have a guest who pops in and joins the Zoom call. There have been some invites sent out. We'll see where that goes from there. But yeah, we are going to get started. This is our week 11 podcast. It's episode 12, but week 11, as you know. Yeah, Jacob, what did you have down as an intro topic for yourself?
So as we're getting towards the end of the season, couple topics came to mind. Just a reminder, trade deadline is about 1 week from today. So if you're wanting to make some trade, reminder, draft picks can be traded. Put that in the group chat if you decide to attach a draft pick to a trade. And then I also wanted to at least start the conversation on off-season rule changes and the procedure. As the commish, Luke, I kind of posed the question to you: are we going to vote as a way to affirm rule changes, or more as a way to um, kind of reject rule changes?
Well, I think before anybody gets like, oh, what's going on? The goal is not to drastically change the league. Why have rule changes at all? The goal is literally just to, there are so many things. My internet connection is unstable. Good. There are so many things that I feel like you bring up, or Ross brings up, or sometimes even Boompa, like the IR spot. Like he's brought that up too. So just things like this that halfway through the season could change the way that the season has gone, or like what people would have done. So I don't want, we did make a playoff change just halfway through the season this year, but everybody was cool with that one. But like bigger changes, like the amount of teams that make the playoffs, putting an IR spot, changing the roster rules, anything like that. If it's something that you guys all want to do, or most of you want to do, then that would be something that we could do. So that's why we would have rule changes, just to improve the league, make it better, make it more fun. But I was thinking that I would open the window for league rule changes. Like obviously you can talk about them, but I would open the window from when I reactivate the league to draft night. Actually, probably even to week 1 after the draft night, we could probably even change things. But if it pertains to the draft, it would have to be changed by the draft.
Yeah, and also if you're talking about roster construction, I
Yeah, it
probably
would have to be. It would have to be something else. It would have to
it
be
would
not
have to be
pertaining.
any like
Like playoff could, playoff rules could change before week 1 or whatever.
scheduling, and I guess if you wanted to adjust points in some way, the scoring system, I guess that could
Yeah.
change as long as it's before week 1. Yeah, I think
So my ground rule would be that you, just to prevent like every idea under the sun from coming in, if you're going to have an idea, you have to already have somebody to like co-sponsor it with you.
okay.
So you'd have to find that kind of on your own and get like a second. If I'm gonna entertain a motion, essentially, you're gonna have a
Yeah.
second on it.
Yeah.
Um, and then when it comes to voting, 3 votes against constitutes a no. Like we're just
Okay.
not gonna do it. If at least 3 players in the league don't want it, we're not gonna do it.
Yeah. I think this is a great addition to the league, Luke. I think it gives us all a little more ownership and say into hopefully making every season better than the last, right?
There would have been a lot of people this year who would have loved an IR spot, myself included.
Everyone, just about everyone would have loved an
Well,
IR
I
spot.
probably would have let Chris Olave go anyway, so just
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
maybe I would have kept Nick Chubb and had the Jerome Ford combo. But
There you go.
anyway, the goal isn't to change things dramatically. So next August or next July when I reactivate the league, that will be open for discussion.
Cool.
Um, let's review the week 11. What happened
All
this
right.
week?
All right. First game I have is again rivalry week part
Hmm.
two, Contendas versus Rebrand Revenge. Um, and I believe heading into Monday night, Boompa was pretty heavily projected to win. It wasn't like a landslide, but it was above 60. Correct me
Hmm.
if I'm wrong. And I mean, he won by 10 points, which is a lot, but it's also not that much when you were projected to win by 60 point or at least 60%.
Right.
Um, and honestly, I'm guessing that after the performance on Monday night by both Nico and CD, Joe Mixon is on the top of Boompa's list of things he's thankful for this year.
Oh yeah. And how could
Like
you not be?
I've 3 touchdowns. He showed up. Yeah, what are your thoughts?
Um, so my thought is that it would be crazy a few years ago to say, "Oh yeah, I'd much rather have Joe Mixon than Jonathan Taylor on my team."
Yeah,
And yet here we are. And I don't know how it's what Joe Mixon is fifth year, fourth year.
probably about that.
I think
I mean,
he's
they're probably roughly the same draft class.
so and just like opposite trajectories, right? Jonathan Taylor, huge success early on. Joe Mixon, I don't know what was going on in the Bengals, but he just seemed like he was capped the whole time. Maybe it
Yeah,
was because the passing game was more of a focus there.
I think that it could also just you could talk about the situation. I'm paused. Or you are
Yeah,
you
that was just a glitch in the
okay.
Zoom. My
You
internet
can talk.
connection is unstable, so.
So is mine. So this is a great setup we
Hmm.
have. I think you could talk about the offensive line situation for both of them, both early on and now. Cincinnati didn't have a great O line, and Indianapolis was one of the best O lines post Andrew Luck era during the JT era. And then Indianapolis, just as a whole, is not great right now. So I think that's part of it on why that trajectory for JT is the way it is.
So yeah, I mean, this matchup between Boompa and David was, the historically great teams. And I still stick to what I said last week that I don't think Boompa's a championship team.
I I mean,
Oh, I've got to move. Yeah, I keep freezing. I've got to probably move. Taking this
uh,
mobile. I'm in the
I
breakfast nook, so
mm, yeah, I just think it depends on the way playoff bracket happens. I think anyone facing Ross in week one has a really tough battle they're gonna have. And then whoever gets that 2-3 seed matchup, um, just has to hope that something can happen against Ross, or hope that they have some players boom for that playoff championship matchup.
for sure, it's going to come down to. I mean, it's fantasy, so it always comes down to luck. But it will literally come down to: will your guys boom? Will Ross's bust? Both those things need to happen.
Yeah, people. I mean, people are waiting for Philly to collapse again. So we'll see.
It does. It has happened at the end of the
It
year.
was just last year,
Just last year and what, 2 years ago? Were they even?
2 years,
Oh, good heavens!
2 years ago they were a Super Bowl team, Luke.
Who'd they play?
The Chiefs. They lost.
Oh, that's right. I do remember Jalen Hurts losing.
Uh, um,
I feel like. Let's see. I feel like it's got to be your internet.
I'm not getting the unstable message anymore.
I'm not either.
Oh, so we're just both unstable.
You know what I could do?
Um,
I don't know why I didn't think of this. I could literally have switched this over to FaceTime, but we could do that a different. Oh,
oh,
snap. Oh,
oh,
boy.
special guest, Rob.
Oh, gosh.
The all boom is here. Don't worry.
Oh, my goodness. This is ridiculous.
I was waiting
Um,
for waiting for the day when they would ask the greatest fantasy team of all time onto the show.
okay, well, Ross, well, you just joined us in the middle of our recap. We wanted to talk about, well, let's get you started by talking about your matchup this week against the Wiz.
Okay.
Um, week
Well,
four,
if you remember, he was the first team to knock me off the winning streak the first time. So I was kind of worried about this time.
and then obviously your team just goes just absolutely hard.
At one point,
172.
at one point we were pretty close. I think we were both predicted in like 50% something. But then I don't
Things
remember where
really fell
it went
off.
off from there. Yeah,
Um, was this a season high for Ross too? This score?
it was for me. I think. Yeah, I think I had 170 at once.
Let's see.
It was an impressive showing for sure.
You had, okay, week 10 was 151, 153, 135, 157. These are just big numbers. These are gritty numbers. 142, 136, 110. That was week 4. Was 110. Let's see.
Against Cheese
133.
Whiz.
Week 2 was your second highest score, 170.42. So, big week for you. Saquon did his job. Um, Jamar
It's
Chase helped you out a little bit.
that combination this year has just been
Brock Bowers was the big,
lights out.
Brock
Brock
Bowers is
Bowers.
actually
Yeah,
the sneaky MVP of your team.
and he's like the only
yeah,
thing good on the Raiders, it seems.
yeah. He's their entire offense is Brock Bowers.
Yeah,
And looks like the trade. Let's talk about the trade that you guys made. I've got both
sure.
parties involved here. Um,
Yes.
that worked out well for you this week, Ross.
Yeah, I was looking at the for me, I was looking more at the playoff schedule of both running backs, and I felt like Josh Jacobs was a little stronger. Both of these guys are ranked pretty similarly. So I thought I just liked his schedule a little bit more going into the playoffs. Um, not
Interesting.
really, not really too concerned about winning games now, but wanting to win games later.
That's an interesting look. See, I saw Josh Jacobs as someone I needed to ditch.
Okay.
He's got some competition from that rookie. And then,
Yep.
I mean, he's got a loaded backfield, but Dobbins also has Gus Edwards. So it's
Yeah,
interesting.
that was part of it too. Is Josh or Edwards just came back from his injury, so I was thinking, oh, I might get a little bit more muddy in the backfield there.
Yeah.
But yeah, the rookie's coming back from an injury as well on the Packers, so pretty
Yeah.
similar situations. Maybe it's just a little homer pick for me, being a Packers fan.
Yeah. Or more disappointment when he ends up just laying an egg in a team in a game you must win.
I'll say this. Um, I'm actually really impressed by Ross's reasoning there. It just hadn't occurred to me that you should actually look at the teams that the people that you want are playing in a trade, like upcoming. Like that's just like a totally higher level. Like I am the guy looking at the ESPN numbers and Ross is looking at matchups like weeks ahead in time, like looking, he's even considering the playoffs. It's just like you're playing chess and I'm playing checkers over here. So
That's why
I'll
he's
give you
team
that.
one right now,
That
right?
is that's true. It's true.
Yep, yep. What's your record right now, Luke?
I'm
Are
six
you
and
fighting
five.
for that fourth?
I'm fighting for a spot in the playoffs. Yes.
So right now it's kind of between you and Cheese Whiz, and I think that's about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe David, if he somehow can get some wins together and you guys lose.
Yeah, it's an interesting, I'd say as a hint towards kind of the this week's preview, Luke is facing the Wiz, and I think that
Oh,
winner
wow.
winner is kind of in that driving seat for who gets to be the lamb to the slaughter in week 1 of the playoffs.
That'll be game of the week.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
still got to recap what happened in my matchup and your matchup, Jacob, for week 11.
Let's
It
see it.
was, let's see here. So obviously I beat Sam this week. This was the rivalry week rematch. This was the game in week 4 that lost me my name of the Phoenix, and I became the idiot.
Is there going to be
And
another renaming
uh,
for
you
this
know,
game?
I don't quite feel like not an idiot yet. So
Well, I'm not thinking of a renaming for you, maybe of the other team involved.
yeah,
Maybe like
I
the CEO or uh under 100. I don't know. Something's got to be.
double
I
down
heard
on
that the
love
Sam.
or
Romnus
something. I
name
don't
is
know.
going to be dropped soon.
Yeah,
So
the Romness name
The-
needs to go away. It was a good meme for a while, but it's been used up, I feel like.
I feel like in our league, changing your name is like the equivalent of firing your head coach. It's
yes,
like you're just resetting. You're just like something's got to change, and you just got to rebrand, change the name, and it's kind of like the equivalent of firing your head coach. So I think the Romnus has been around for a couple years now. It's just got to go.
He was
yeah.
the Romness Elevator Rhinos his first year that he adopted the Romness name, and now he's Romness Revenge, right?
It
Or
was,
Yes,
Romness Rebuilt. Romness Rebuilt.
yes, yes.
David is the rebrand Revenge. The R names
yeah. I
here.
always get those two names mixed up when I'm looking at them.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
some. I
mean,
mean, you
did
know,
we hit a
there's
low point for Sam this week? I mean, not only did he score under 100, but he started Kyle Pitts.
you got to do
Going
what you
back
got
to
to do.
the old Kyle Pitts well.
Everyone takes a turn being disappointed by him.
Yeah.
Hey, I had him for a
Yeah.
week when Kelsey was on by and he got me over 10 points. I was very pleased.
Is this actually a new low for Sam? 91.3?
No, he's
No.
been in the under 60 club or under 70 club this year. He's been in the
Yeah.
60s.
Yeah.
He
Yeah, I think his name needs to be like the president or
yes, the president. He's the
the
president.
CEO.
He's leading by example though. You know, that's what a good president does.
That's right.
He's holding these
Um,
secret meetings going, "Hey guys, we got to get these numbers down. These are these are gritty numbers. We got to get these down."
Oh yeah, his team is so rough.
Tyreek Hill has
um,
been the biggest disappointment for him, honestly.
yeah,
Just
he's
like
just scored his like second touchdown this week, something like that.
as like an anchor player for your team.
Yeah.
So him and the contenders made a trade this week for two running backs for two running backs. Was that discussed last week?
That this is actually a reverse of the trade from last week.
Okay,
I
so they're just going back.
I've seen
Yep.
Boompa do this before, where he'll do bi-week trades as an act of good faith. Um, and I just don't know that if any of the Miltimores were involved, that there would be any trust at all. Like
Um,
if it were you,
absolutely not.
yes, like because I've had Ross say this before. Like he's like, I'll trade you these guys, and then like maybe you'll get them. So I just don't know that I would ever
I
take
have
anything.
I've never heard of this idea of lending players to each other until this league. So um,
It's a unique
if you trade me
cultural
your
thing
players, you're probably not going to get them back.
at Joe Mixon. 55 points.
Is that how much he
Um,
ended up with?
no, that one after you took him from your dad.
Oh yeah.
Jacob, your matchup was really notable for one reason and one reason only.
Oh, poor Benton.
Poor Benton.
Another unlucky loss.
That's
Scored in the
so
top.
ridiculous.
I it's unbelievable that Benton continues to have the season he's having.
So
Yeah,
Jacob,
he would have beaten every other team except Benton or me. by a decent amount.
Yeah, he was the third highest scoring team this week and still manages to get the loss.
Jacob, this was your season high score number 3. So this was your third highest score of the season, and it comes on a Benton week.
Just like everyone else that faces Benton.
I should honestly go and see like statistically, um,
I
like
I think
where the high scores are in relation to Benton matchups.
I think at the end of the season we need to just like go back and look at the almost the improbability that Benton had to face this year.
Yeah, I mean, look at the standings. His points for and against, like he should be around fourth place,
Oh
and
yeah.
his points against is just way higher than everybody else.
His points against is like facing you every week.
Yeah, his losing streak is also 8 weeks in a row now.
Poor Benton.
I think
So
uh I think that's a league record.
I'll
Um,
go back and look. I know he held it. I think he held it in our second season. I think he held the longest lose streak, and I can go back and check on that. But I think it was 10 games. I think he had a 10-game losing streak, but I might be wrong about
really?
that. I think he
This has
did.
to be a record. I feel like this has to be the record. 8 weeks in a row is a lot, like just by sheer luck is pretty hard to do.
Sam had a
So
pretty bad year one, I want to say.
we were talking to Benton, and he was saying like this season especially sucks for him because he's put in way more effort in our league than he ever has, and he feels like his team's actually not bad, which it isn't. And just to be getting that kind of a number, like it, even if you look at like, yeah, you can look at he's had all these unlucky losses. It still doesn't feel good to have your record be 1-10. Like that's just
Yeah, I mean his team like he's got Rashi Rice and Isaiah Pacheco both on IR on his bench. If they came off, his team would be amazing.
totally, yeah. And his team was good. Well, was better
Yeah,
than
going
Rushy
going
Rice
into the
was.
year, I thought his team was really good. It's just terrible luck. Well, I think he secured himself the number one overall pick next year. Is that guaranteed? It's got to be.
Um,
Um,
well, so
no.
technically placement goes from playoffs, so you can tank in the playoffs. But I'm going to change that this year to um, not playoff placement because they make you play those consolation matches even if you don't make the playoffs, and that has determined our seeding over the past few years, and that just is so backwards. So we'll probably do honestly straight up record with points for being the tiebreaker.
Well, technically, if Benton wins his last three
Wow,
games,
this is another poor Benson moment. He's not even gonna get the first overall pick.
No,
no, no,
he
no.
probably will.
If he wins his last three games and either Sam or David loses their last three games, there's a chance they would both be tied at 4 wins.
Okay, so there's a chance.
There's a chance Benton doesn't finish last.
So maybe whoever wins the consolation bowl gets first overall pick,
No, no, we're
or is
going
it
by standings.
whoever?
It's just like the NFL. You got to go by standings.
Okay.
Okay, Ross, this is actually a tied record for the lose streak that Benton himself set in 2022, our second year. He lost the first 8 weeks of that year and went 0-8
Oh,
to start the year. So wait, he's at no, this is
he's
he's at 1-10 now, right?
yeah, but the streak is 8 losses
Oh,
in
the
a row.
streak is 8. That's right, because he won against me in week 3. He beat me in week 3. Hey, that is a mark against me that I'm the one win in his record there.
So 8 losses in a row was set in 2022 as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's the win streak
The
record for the
win
league?
streak, I will tell you.
It's 8 or 9.
Top win
Jacob last
streak,
year?
David 8 in 2021 and Boompa in 7 in that same season, 2021.
Oh,
And then Jacob in 2023 had 6.
I couldn't run the table. I lost to Luke.
You did.
I'm
Um,
at 6 right now, so I'll need at least
oh,
2 to tie it, but I'll
yeah,
need the last game to beat it.
you'll get them.
So
You'll get added to the board here. I should make these available somehow. Speaking of accolades, the awards this week. Ross, congratulations. You're receiving it in person. You get the Gritty Award again this week. You've
This
already
is
secured the seasonal.
it is like a broken record of an award.
if
That's
I had a
actually,
dollar for every gritty award I've gotten this year.
you'd have $10,
Though I do think we need
$9.
so early season, Ross to some extent rode Brandon Aubrey to that Grady Award. I mean, he was scoring big money. And Aubrey is no longer even hitting every field goal, let alone the
Is
Dallas offense is no longer even getting in position for him to hit field goals.
Yeah, he's definitely only the third kicker right now, but he was like a guaranteed number one, 15 points early in the
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. So I'm just saying Ross still is Ross, scored 170 points this week, but he's no longer got that kicker advantage over everyone, I feel.
You know what's crazy to me is that Ross has not even, with your team this year, you have not cracked 180 yet. And like you've not made it onto my top scores list. Of
Yeah, that's happened many times in the last 4 years, right?
Oh yeah, I've got
Five
eight. I've
times at
got
least.
8 scores above 180 right now. Um, and yeah, Sam, David, Boompa, Sam, Boompa, Jacob, Boompa, Benton. So are all above 180. Sam having that highest in 2023 of 202, which
That
is
was
Yeah,
crazy.
unreal.
That was
that's
a
pretty
Devin A
surprising.
chain. Um, so you get the Gritty Mismanager Award is going to none other than me. Jacob last week told me to, like, he was like, "Oh, wouldn't it just feel so good to just like stick it to Brees Hall and Garrett Wilson and just like, because I always feel captive to their projections." And so this week I decided to, sit them. They were going against tough matchups, according to ESPN. I'm a slave. Um, and of course, Brees Hall goes off, gets 3 touchdowns,
But
31
you
points,
weren't. But how many did Garrett Wilson score on your bench for you?
5.
Which is, and how many did Cortland Sutton score for you
He got
because you
just
started him?
he got 14 points, and I started him, and that is actually, um, yeah, I think that's like one of the first guys I've picked up off the waivers that I've actually like started in the first like 3 weeks that I've had him before letting him prove himself.
Well, him and to spoil the waiver winner, your boy Bo Nix.
Yep, Bo Nix. I did the Boompa strat and double dipped a little bit this week, so I'm the waiver winner because I got Bo Nix. It was a good pickup for
28
me.
points on Baker's bye, man.
Yeah, can't complain about that. And I think I'm gonna keep him.
That was my next question.
I
Gonna
think I'm
keep
gonna.
him going into
No,
next year?
no, no, no. Heavens no. I
Oh,
ain't no CJ Stroud keeper. Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes was not kept, right?
No.
Although Sam
he was for me last year, and that was part of the reason, I think. My
Sam
team.
probably wishes he would have kept Jalen Hurts. But
Yeah, there's very few quarterbacks that are worth keeping. Maybe three. Lamar.
Unless if team composition changes and we go to two QBs, like you said, it's Lamar and Jalen, maybe Josh Allen.
I wouldn't even put Josh Allen there this year.
Yeah, it depends on the rest of your team.
He's been 36, 36, 25, 10.
Yeah. He's not Lamar.
No,
Lamar
he's not.
is his
Lamar,
Lamar's down week is 15.
Lamar is the only thing going for Mark's team on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
Maybe he needs to trade him away.
Ross has open arms. Hey, I'll take him off your hands.
Um,
Just get
Luke, your
Mark on
kicker
Fortnite.
scored 24 points this week.
Yes, I've got the Brandon Aubrey upgrade, Chris
Yeah.
Boswell. He's the number one
New
kicker
number one
now.
kicker.
And if you noticed, I have the Vikings defense as well, number one defense. So I've got special teams, like those last two slots in my roster are consistently good for me, but I'm still struggling a little bit.
And you avoid the Vikings playing the Lions since they play week 18. So you will not have to have a fantasy week of the Vikings against the Lions. So
52 points against, like something ridiculous.
fun fact, the Jaguars defense and special teams scored the minimum amount of points, like literally like the lowest amount of points possible in fantasy football standard scoring this week,
Which is
negative
what?
12.
Negative 12?
They had no positive plays like a sack or a turnover, and they allowed over
Like the
48
lowest
points
tier
or
or
whatever it
whatever.
is, and most amount of yards as well. Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Um,
Russell Wilson Award. I do have to hand this one over. Luke, you only scored 118 and you still got a win, similar to what Russell Wilson did this week.
That's very Russ-like.
he was back in his Mr. Unlimited form this week. Zero touchdowns, one interception, 200 yards, six fantasy points. And he still won. Still won the game. And probably thought that he was all hot for it. I should look and see if he celebrated or something. Like, like, we did it, boys.
Is Sam still using Russ as his quarterback?
He started
He
him.
used him
Oh, he used him for the
and
6 points.
dropped for Mahomes this week.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He's trying out Mahomes.
So we've
I,
talked about our two trades.
I will say, it did feel like Sam was the emotional buy this week. Like, and he sent that text to the group message saying like, guys, I feel like I'm the emotional bye week now. But like literally, I would keep checking my scores, and it's like, oh my goodness, like you're kidding me. Like he's not producing, and then like I was never once projected under 50% winning. Like I was always projected to win, and I was like, this is. I just felt like I should be scared all the time, and like my guys they were just not doing well,
So
and
for a while, he had Kittle in, whose projection got put to zero once it was found out that he wasn't going to play. So that could also be part of it.
oh sure. Anyway, it felt wrong for me to go in and be disappointed with my production and then like still like, oh, I'm 70% gonna win this game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll take the Russell
So,
Wilson award this week.
are you going to be benching Bijan Robinson this week?
He's on bye.
Okay.
Yeah, he's on bye,
Nice.
so I have to. Um, yeah, I mean, whoa, my team. Where's my team?
Um, while you figure out what you're going to say, Luke, I'll just go through quick waiver update. Some interesting pickups, just kind of looking at some people that produced. Javonte Williams, Benton, Austin Eckler gets picked up. Lad McConkey, great pickup by David there. Jawan Jennings gets picked up. Ross, I actually was going to call this one out even before you joined, but Trey Benson, I think it's a really sneaky pickup. Um, it's obviously like probably not going to be someone you play unless if James Conner goes down. But if James Conner goes down, Trey Benson is going to be like all-star level.
Yep,
What?
that's all I'm really looking at is if James Conner were to go down, that would be a great flex option in the playoffs. But yeah, when James Conner is in, it's not really kind of a nothing player, projected only single digit numbers. But yeah, if he were to go down, that would be a great play.
So I'm looking at Trey Benson. This is the first time I've heard of him.
Yeah, he's a rookie.
I I
These
had
last
him
two
on my
weeks,
team.
he's had over 10 points I'm assuming an RB2.
Yeah.
And like what's up with that sudden pickup?
So he's I can't remember, but I was reading a lot about him going into the season, and there was between James Conner being injury prone, I was kind of hoping that he'd get a little more opportunity before I dropped him. He is like super fast and like led college football last year in like broken tackles or something like that.
Mm.
Like um he could project to be a pretty good running back. Just
Oh,
in
I didn't
real
see
football.
that you had drafted him in the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Well, he was on your radar, huh?
Yeah. But I James Conner has stayed healthy and James Conner has just been beast mode. So I like I said, I think it's a sneaky good pickup. Likely doesn't mean anything for Ross long term, but if it does, it's going to be the reason. It's going to be part of the reason Ross could win the whole league. And then, as I said earlier, Sam dropping Ross for Mahomes, and I think if you know anyone with Mahomes, just let him know to bench him because any player Sam picks up, that QB nomad is a tough place to be.
Mahomes has been disappointment city this year, hasn't he?
I believe he leads the
He
league in
has.
interceptions.
He was last year too for fantasy.
What's his
Yeah,
position rank? Let me look. He's 13th.
yeah,
He's
not good.
averaging 15.8 points a week.
So,
How many quarterbacks has Sam gone through this year?
oh,
Is this number five,
I'll,
maybe?
I'll look. I'll look.
at
I'll
least
look at
because
his starters. So
he
he's got
had Darnold.
Mahomes, Russell. That's two. Darnold, Bo Nix. That's four. Russell, Geno Smith. That's five. Justin Fields. Six. Joe Burrow, Anthony
Seven,
Richardson,
Oh,
eight.
okay,
and
so
that's and yeah, eight eight quarterbacks.
8 and 11 weeks.
Wow. I think that's a record.
That is crazy.
It's hard. It's hard if you don't have those top tier guys. Like some of us aren't as fortunate to have Jalen Hurts and Baker Mayfield like you guys. Um, when you kind of feel like you want to, and I mean Sam's team, as we've said, is the emotional bye week. You want to try and kind of sneak any points, get any extra points as you can, and you're just kicking yourself all Sunday due to the fact that um, your quarterback is doing poorly and the other guy you looked at is probably doing great.
Just want to throw out Kyler Murray's on the waivers, projected about 19 points. Sam might be a better option.
I'm gonna send Sam a trade right now.
For Bo Nix.
Yes, sir.
Nice. Um,
I've got what he wants.
all right. I'll kind of just overview my luck standings. So as we mentioned, Benton with another unlucky loss. Luke being the benefactor of a lucky win this week. We now have the Ambrose boys all with +2 luck. Mark +1 luck. Boompa David Ross -1 on the luck scale. And Benton, I just can't believe I have to keep finding a darker red when I make this table is unlucky -4. Like unbelievable.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I don't feel like I'm lucky +2, but obviously I am.
I mean, you won this one with 118 points.
It's fantasy football.
It's true.
Yeah.
Um, and then my power rankings, um, not much change. Uh, top four still Ross, Boompa, Luke, then Cheese Whiz. Then we had the shuffling of 5 through 7. Benton and I both move up one. And then David is down to seventh, and Sam is at the bottom in eighth, and just about has clinched that bottom spot in my power rankings.
Yeah, he really has, hasn't he? We don't have.
I'm pretty close to.
He'll have to win out to have any chance of, and like win high to have any chance
I
of moving
mean,
up.
if so,
Really.
if he gets the gritty the next 3 weeks, he could potentially pass all the way up to like fourth.
I think it's pretty crazy. The middle of the pack is really quite clustered. I mean, David's at 732.
Yeah,
and he's one gritty away and one lowest score of me away from just totally swapping places with me
exactly.
at 40
Exactly.
in third place, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's preview week 12. We've got some big games this week.
We do. We do have some big.
Uh, so first, boom, all boom, no bust. We'll talk about Ross. We got the Battle of the Twins facing against David. So I have essentially David with the loss last week really put himself in a tough position. But um, if he can dethrone Ross, stop the win streak, he faces you and I in the last 2 weeks of his season. Um, and if so, essentially, if he can win out, he has a schedule where he can affect the people he is trying to face
Yep.
or trying to kind of take their place in the playoffs. So, just an interesting matchup for David. He's got to definitely go through Ross, which is always going to be tough.
So
Yeah,
the
I've got Jamar Chase on bye week this week. But I know he also has a couple bye week. Drake London, T. Higgins,
oh
Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a toss up there.
his path to the playoffs is beat Ross first,
Yes.
beat both of us, so win out the season to the playoffs, and then hope that you and I both lose in our other matchups too.
It is easier for him just because I have one more win than you. It is easier for him to obviously take your spot, but I mean, he also has to face Cheese Whiz if you lose this week. So, um, I mean, ESPN I think gives him like a 3 or a 6% chance. They don't
Yeah,
give him a big chance, but I'm saying there's a chance.
technically ESPN gives Sam a 1% chance to make the playoffs. So
There's still a chance.
What's crazy to me is that Ross has not clinched a playoff berth yet.
I think this will be the week where
This
Yeah.
will
people
be
get
the
knocked
week.
out and people get secured.
Possibly. Um, Luke
Benton is the only one
Ross.
with 0%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Luke Ross, anything to add on that matchup?
I
I think he beat me before.
Right.
He
He's your
was
other loss.
Cheese Whiz and Rebrand that beat me back to back weeks. So yeah, we'll see if he can get his revenge again, or if I can get my revenge and he can
Another
give it to me again.
170 week coming in.
I'm really like I'm worried about David's. You
I'm
never
I'm
know what.
starting Marvin. I'm starting Marvin Harrison Jr. for the first time in weeks, probably since the first couple weeks of the league. So we'll see what he can do.
I think Jameer Gibbs is dangerous against Indy. They've been
Yeah,
pretty weak against the run. Um, DeAndre Hopkins against Carolina. It's going to be a lot of targets to pick from there, but if he can get the right ones, that could be a big boom. He has Laporta against Indy again. Um, I'm not feeling great for him. You know, Jonathan Taylor going against Detroit, and he's starting Jordan Love again against San Francisco.
That could be potential. San Francisco's defense is not what it used to be.
they always play well against the Packers, though.
That's true.
Always.
You would
Um,
know.
all
Yep,
right.
just like we always play well against the Bears.
You didn't last week, but besides the point. Next matchup I have is the Freight Train versus Romnus Revenge, or Rebuilt or whatever it is. Rebuilt.
Monster game. Absolute monster game.
And fun little fact, due to some weird scheduling, this is actually they're going to face each other in back-to-back weeks. So we'll get to talk about this matchup next week as well.
That's weird.
Um, Benton looking to end Sam's season. Sam hoping to get another win.
Is there a path to the playoffs for Sam at all, or no?
1%.
1%.
is what ESPN gives him. Yeah,
He has to win out, and then basically
everybody else has to
I have to
lose.
lose out, and so does Mark, I think, right?
How do the playoffs work? Is it two people from each division, or is
No,
it
it's
just top four?
top four.
Divisions are meaningless. They're just a man-made construct.
That could be a proposed rule change, though. I could make because I always do divide the divisions in top four placement and bottom four placement from each year, theoretically making it easier for the bottom four teams to make it to the playoffs next year.
How is that theoretically making it easier?
No, if we were to do that,
Oh,
if we were to change that, so that could be a proposed rule change too.
interesting.
Playoffs will look different
Um,
next year, maybe.
yeah.
There'll have to be a whole separate podcast after this season with all these rule changes we've had
We,
built.
you missed it at the beginning of this episode, but I've got a whole. I'm going to open
Luke's got a
a
whole spiel.
yeah. I'm going to open a rule change window from league reactivation to draft night, where you can propose or motion for a change. You have to have a second on the motion, and then three votes against will wipe it. So, but yeah,
Interesting.
Next game of the week, Wiz versus the Idiot. Um, Obviously, we've talked about this a couple times throughout this podcast, but winner is in the driver's seat easily for that fourth seed. Possibly winner could even move up to third just due to the nature of the scheduling. So
I would love that to not face Ross.
yes, it's a big week for both you and Mark here, Luke.
Yeah,
Both of you guys have the exact same record. I don't think he set his team yet, but it looks like you're projected 58% chance win.
yeah. I don't think let's see. He's got Devontae on bye, still sitting there. He'll probably slide Zay in there and put Najee in the flex
Maybe
if he's
maybe
smart.
Jaden Reed.
He does love
You
Jaden
got
Reed.
you've got a lot of bye weeks. Brees Hall, Bijan, and Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, yeah. I might be making a trade with either David or Sam. Both of them need a. I'm hoping David thinks Jordan Love is not as good of an option for him as Bo Nix. So, and maybe I can get something out of him to help me out in the running back department. So
Need a running back, you say, huh?
yeah, it's new for
Well,
me.
Maybe we can make the first live trade by the end of this podcast, but we'll continue with the matchups here.
an interesting thing, Luke, is you're also coming up on borrowed time with Kareem Hunt. Pacheco's
I know.
due back soon.
Yep.
I know. So that I'm looking ahead as well, like thinking maybe do I really want to hitch my star to Brees Hall's wagon?
Blake Corum? Blake Corum?
Yeah, if Kyron gets injured,
Good pickup.
I drafted him. I drafted him and Jonathan Brooks.
You can pick up Brooks. I dropped him.
Oh,
I was going to
man.
say, is it safe to say that Luke has won that trade? The Garrett Wilson for Jonathan Brooks.
Honestly,
Yes.
I'm gonna say it was a wash, even though I never started Brooks. You had one pop off week for Garrett Wilson.
No.
Otherwise, he is
No.
He's a top 5 wide receiver at this point, right?
He's ranked position 5.
how?
He had 29, 24, 13, 16, 30. That's what he had for me.
I mean,
Okay.
as opposed to Jonathan Brooks, 0, 0, 0,
Hey,
5.
hey.
Thank you for having my back on this, Ross. I
I
couldn't
have Jonathan
believe
Brooks
that
in another
trade.
league.
I couldn't
It didn't
believe
help
that trade.
so part of the reason I had to drop him is they re-signed Chuba Hubbard to a contract
Yes.
extension. He's now worthless in Dynasty.
Yep.
All right, let's move on. I got my game, me versus Boompa. Huge week, not quite as big as the Wiz versus the Idiot. Winner kind of secures, at least to some extent, secures not having to face Ross in the first round of the playoffs. Loser is at risk to go down to seed 4. Currently, we're seed 2 and 3 in the playoffs.
Yeah, you guys have the same record, and so these next 2 weeks will literally dictate.
Which,
Well,
again, fun fact, weird scheduling, but this is going to be a back-to-back matchup for Boompa and I. So
Oof.
who knows what that really
it's the
means? But
doubleheader.
if either one of us sweeps that doubleheader, it'll be securing, not facing
Lights out
Ross
for
and
the other team. Yep.
yeah.
How do you feel
I
about
mean,
going up against Bupa?
I feel good knowing that CeeDee Lamb is CeeDee Lamb and he's getting thrown to by Cooper Rush. So knowing that his star player is not the star player he was last year is really nice. Obviously, he can still go off. They force feed him the ball often. Nico Collins being back, we'll see what that means.
I
Only
see
9 points.
Bupa's trying the double dip strategy with the combo of Brock Purdy and Juwan Jennings this week. Is Juwan actually like, oh wow,
He's wide
he's
receiver too.
kind of the guy there, I guess.
Yeah.
you should know that you have Debo Samuel. He hasn't been doing much all year.
I have seen that. I mean, he was injured for half the middle of the season, but
Debo possibly being traded in the offseason. Fun fact.
They just re-signed Brandon Ayuk, so it's
Debo has been so untrustworthy for me. Just a big mess.
All right. That's all I have.
is the 2 and 3 seed in the playoffs pretty much a wash because it's the same matchup no matter what. If you went to the
Yes,
2 seed,
Yes, there's no advantage of being 2 versus 3.
you just risk falling to that 4 spot.
Yes, which we're all trying to avoid.
for obvious reasons.
I'm just waiting for my team just to show up with a big 90 points in the playoffs.
Welcome to
Oh,
fantasy football. Wouldn't that just be fitting?
I
wouldn't that be
Benton
something?
I
scores
won't be
180
surprised.
in the consolation, and Ross scores 90 in the playoffs.
That would
Yeah.
be totally fitting. Okay. Well, this was a pleasant surprise to have you on the podcast, Ross.
Yes,
Thanks for
I
dropping in.
got your text when I was asleep, so I never answered.
That's okay.
It's like
Um,
4 o'clock there.
I was taking a nap.
it's hard work living in Hawaii.
I was up early.
That's all we have for this week's podcast. So until next time, we will see you all. Peace out.